Good morning, America. Welcome back to Channel 9. I'm your host, Amos Rivera.
I'm your other host, Max Miller.
In today's breaking news, we have just in an article about abstinence and comprehensive sex education and the initiation of sexual activity in teen pregnancy. This article was a year in the making, sampling a group of individuals from the ages of 15 to 19, having them submit questionnaires regarding their sexual education, if any, prior to sexual intercourse. This study goes in depth by comparing the results of how no sexual education, abstinence-only sexual education, and comprehensive sexual education affected the sample on 3 different occasions. These occasions were sexual initiation, STDs, and pregnancies. These results go very in depth, taking into consideration age, gender, family income, race, residential area, and family situation. Join us in this in-depth study as we go into the complexities of sexual education and its effect on our youth. So, to begin, I'll have our host Max introduce us to this study.
The United States have higher rates of STDs, teen pregnancies, and teen births than most other industrialized countries. In a 2000 study, only Russia and Romania passed the US in rates of syphilis, gonorrhea, and chlamydia. Abortions are also higher in the US than most developing countries. In the US, although 15 to 24-year-olds only represent 25% of the sexually active population, they account for nearly 1/2 of all newly sexually transmitted infections. These rates are the highest among young women and minorities in the United States. Sex education programs aim to reduce risks of teen pregnancies and STD acquisitions with 1 or 2 types of messaging regarding sexual activities: abstinence only and comprehensive sex education messages. Abstinence only messages promote not engaging in sexual activity until marriage, while comprehensive sex education promotes safe sex tips and information to reduce the risk of STDs and teen pregnancies. This study on the 2 different messages uses data from cycle 6 of the NSFG to determine whether STD and pregnancy risk is significantly different based on the type of formal sex education adolescents receive, whether it is the abstinence-only program or the comprehensive sex education. Now we're going to switch over to our host Aramis, where he can review the methods and the results of this study.
To begin with, the NSFG is a nationwide survey conducted by the National Center for Health Statistics. Data was collected in collaboration with the University of Michigan from January 2002 to March 2003 in an in-home interview process that included self-interviewing. This included different demographics, knowledge, attitude, and beliefs regarding family planning issues, and self-reported sexual behavior, and self-reported diagnosis of STDs. This survey also had compounding factors that were assessed as well. The ages were 15 to 19. There was household income varying from $20,000 to $75,000 a year. This also included ethnicity, place of residence, and family situation. Of the 1,719 never married heterosexual adolescents, 47.4% were female. The median age was 17 years old. 76 were of white ethnicity, and 14% were black ethnicity. 50.7% of the participants were in a less than $40,000 a year household. 53% resided in a central city, and 41% reported a non-intact family unit. Overall in this study, 9.4% reported no sexual education, 23.8% reported abstinence-only education, and 66.8% reported comprehensive sexual education. And out of the survey, 46.3% of males and 45.7% of females reported sexual activity before the survey. Including abstinence and comprehensive sexual education and excluding no sexual education, abstinence-only education was not significantly associated with adolescents engaging in intercourse, as comprehensive education was marginally more associated with reducing reports of intercourse among adolescents. Abstinence-only education was significantly less associated with teen pregnancy, versus comprehensive education, where teen pregnancy reports were significantly lower compared to no sexual education. And finally, when it comes to STDs, few adolescents reported STDs, but STDs are more prominent in females at 4.8% than males at 2.1%. Neither abstinence or comprehensive sexual education was significantly associated with STDs when compared to no sexual education.
This assessment of the impact of formal sex education programs on teen sexual health using nationally representative data found that abstinence-only programs had zero effect in delaying initiation of sexual activity, along with reducing risk for teen pregnancy and STDs. In contrast, comprehensive sex education programs were significantly associated with reduced risk of teen pregnancy, whether compared with no sex education or with abstinence-only sex education, and were marginally associated with decreased likelihood of a teen becoming sexually active compared with no sex education. Formal sex education is associated with important social demographic characteristics such as age, income, and residence. In addition, there is also a strong connection between family intactness and receiving sexual education. Although future prospective studies expressly designed to evaluate the effects of formal comprehensive sex education programs reduce the risk for teen pregnancy without increasing the likelihood that adolescents will engage in sexual activity, and conform results from randomized controlled trials that abstinence-only programs have a minimal effect on sexual risk behavior.
And now we go to our co-hosts, Jonay and Elise, where they took an outside view and reviewed a study about the same topic.
Teenagers with high abstinence intentions may periodically be less equipped to decide and negotiate their preferences regarding sexual activity. Teenagers that believe in abstinence could be a major way to prevent unwanted pregnancy and STDs. Programs that attempt to address this difficulty by increasing teenagers' negative cognitions about being abstinent might still have the same boomerang effect in the long term if teenagers' circumstances change. A new relationship or a change in normative peer influences, both common experiences for youth, could cause a change in cognitions and lead to the same paradoxical effect. Little research has explored how teenagers think about abstinence and how it functions throughout their lives. These questions are crucial when thinking about abstinence-only programs throughout the United States. Data on these attitudes and intentions related to abstinence and sex were collected from 365 adolescents aged 12 to 15. These adolescents participated in HIV risk reduction programs. After 6 months of being in this program, the teenager's likelihood was recorded in all sexual activity. It was concluded that the adolescents who had positive attitudes and intentions about abstinence had reduced likelihood of engaging in this sexual activity, whereas those with positive attitudes and intentions were more likely to engage in sex. Among teens with low levels of sex intention, greater abstinence intention had little relationship to the predicted probability of having sex. But those with high sex intention, greater abstinence intention was associated with increased sexual probability. Youth do not consider abstinence and sexual activity opposing constructs. Installing abstinence influence does not guarantee that that teenager will not prevent in any sexual activity.
One limitation of this study is the dependence on youth self-reporting of sexual behavior, a limitation common to all survey research. Attitudes and intentions are fairly strong predictors of different aspects of adolescent sexual behavior, such as use of condoms and other contraceptives, as well as frequency of sex and the number of partners. In teenagers with low levels of sexual intentions, greater abstinence intentions had little effect on the predicted probability of having sex, but in teenagers with high levels of sex intention, greater abstinence intentions was associated with an increased probability of having sex. This increase could be due to youth perception of abstinence as part of the developmental trajectory that eventually leads to sexual activity. Even though sexual intercourse with adolescents has been characterized as unplanned and impulsive, some research suggests an underlying cognitive decision-making process. Evidence recommends attitudes and norms predict adolescents' intentions to have sex, and that intentions predict behavior.
Wow, that was amazing. Thank you, Team Elise and Jonay. And now we're gonna go to our buddy Brody out in the field taking interviews about the same topic.
I'm in Palm City today with Ela Smith, and I'd like to ask you some questions.
Okay.
So just to clarify, do you know what abstinence only and comprehensive sex education programs are?
Yes, I do.
So first question is, do you believe that your child should be enrolled into an abstinence only or comprehensive sex education program? Or do you believe that you as their parent should teach them or maybe let them figure it out for themselves?
I think the comprehensive sex program would be best.
Okay. And at what age should you put your child into an abstinence only or comprehensive sex program?
7th grade.
7th grade?
Yes.
And the last question is, why did you choose the comprehensive sex education program?
I believe that there may be more information. I believe there's more information for a child to go with than trying to stay away from sex, because I don't believe that most teenagers will not stay away from sex.
Okay. I'm in Palm City here today with Larry Smith, and I'd like to ask you some questions. Is that okay?
Yes.
So, first of all, just to clarify, do you know what abstinence only and comprehensive sex education programs are?
Yes.
Okay. First question. Do you believe that your child should be enrolled into an abstinence only or comprehensive sex education program? Or do you believe that you as their parent should teach them or maybe let them figure it out for themselves?
They should be enrolled in a comprehensive sex education program.
Okay. And at what age do you think you should enroll them into that program?
Boys, 12, 13, girls, 10, 12, in that range. And I also believe they should be taught, or enrolled in another class as they go through puberty.
About puberty and specifically about puberty and not sex education?
No. They should go through the comprehensive sex education class again and possibly in more detail as they get older and go through puberty.
Okay. And why do you choose the sex education program over an abstinence only program?
Because sex happens.
Be educated.
Okay, there we go. I'm at IRC today with Mira Kroll, and I'd like to ask you some questions.
Okay.
So, just to clarify, do you know what abstinence only and comprehensive sex education programs are?
Yeah.
So, hypothetically, if you did have a child, do you believe that your child should be enrolled in an abstinence only or comprehensive sex education program? Or do you believe you as their parent should teach them or maybe let them figure it out for themselves?
The education program.
Okay. And at what age would you put your child into this sex education program?
12, 13.
Okay. And why do you choose the comprehensive sex education program over the abstinence only program?
I feel like they learn more instead of just being told no, it's wrong, and they actually figure out the risks and how to do it safely if
So
they are going to do it.
They figure out like why not to do it, just not just like being told why not.
Yeah, like I feel like just being told why not is just gonna make them want to do it more and be more curious about it. Whereas if you educate them, because like they're gonna do it at some point anyway, or if they choose not to, then they choose not to. But if they are going to, like, you want them to be educated about it and how to do it safely.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Brody. Those interviews were great. It's great to hear from people out in the field. And that wraps up today's news broadcast. We'll see you again next time. Have a good day.